So it's not always clear to people what sacredness or sacrality means. We often dip into morals, right? We often dip into our thoughts about what is right and what is wrong, right? Oftentimes, this is something that comes from outside of us, from the news, from school, parents, friends, in group, peer pressure, right? And so it's not always easy to disconvolute what the holy actually is, especially in the discussion about God. I, for one, I've come from the Catholic perspective. Clearly, was I incarnated, subconsciously or what have you, to a Catholic system. In the Catholic system, you have a lot of guilt. You have a lot of going to church and you say, mea culpa, my. So every Sunday you go and you say, it was my fault, it was my fault, it was my fault. What exactly it was that was your fault remained unclear, but it was your fault. And so I had to deal with what the word God and the institution of God and just the force of God meant to me. And it came upon me that actually God, in my Catholic perception from birth, having been brought up in this Catholic church in Sweden, which is much more light than the Polish system, where the fascist force is oftentimes stronger, right? The priests have way more say. The priests get engaged with the public schooling system. The priests, well, not so anymore, but right in the 90s, still early 21st century, this was the case. So in Sweden it was much lighter, but still we had Polish priests, and the Polish priests brought the Polish ways, right? And so they looked at you and they were like, who do you think you are? What do you think you got? All these things. I learned a lot, but I had to sort God out. And at this point in time, I don't really like the word God because I think for me personally, certainly, as it stopped to mean that thing which we all want it to mean, which is all pervasive, infinite light, both as in non dark and as in non heavy, presence, unconditional fuel, unconditional breezy heavenly love, um, infinite potential, right? The unknowable, the ineffable. Oftentimes people, and there's a revivement right now of Christianity, right, as a reaction to the nihilism and the ingredients, Americana and the Hollywood and all that from the past 6 years. There's a revivement and God is back on the menu. And again, I see people say, but God loves me or God this, God that. And I get it so often that this is a God that is, again, it's a trust fund stepfather, right? It's a father that's graced you with his some of his trust fund, and you're his favorite little baby, and all that. Not exactly what we want God to be. Say I, says I. We want God to be something else than this, right? Which is why, for me personally, at this point in time, the word God is out the window, right? I do engage in like Taoist practices and some energy work, and there is the experience until even a state of non-experience of of something that you don't want to personalize, something that you don't want to make into a parent or a this or that or a personality or God loves me or God said I will be fine, right? You just don't want to. Once you've been there, you don't want to do that. And moreover, you are setting impediments on your own life by doing it, okay? I would say. And so, what is sacrality? What is holy, right? that a holy that is not the holier than thou morality, the wokeness that you will do right by us because of what we say, not because of what comes out from the depths of you. Well, it's a quality. The holy, the sacred is a quality. It's very easy. And I like to take the example of a company meeting, or not even a company. I grew up in Sweden where the centralized government is quite vast. And so I worked in institutions, and you walk into one of these meetings, which is often superfluous, right? It shouldn't necessarily be taking place. It's just because bureaucracy wants to bureaucrat that this meeting is taking place. But you walk in and you already sense that people are slightly chaotized, right? They are not on the ball. There is not a clear direction in the room. There is not a clear energy in the room. There is stalling. There is reallotment of responsibility, right? But you don't even have to say any of these because you walk into the room and you can smell and feel that there's a problem. Okay, the direction is not forward. The direction is like this, you know. And it's a simple example of what maybe the sacral and the holy is not, right? So we are in a sort of addiction to chaos. This is what sacrality is not, right? Life is very simple. Love is very simple. All of these things are very, very simple, right? But we complicate them because of greed, because of addiction to greed, because of survival mode, right? So we start doing this, but I'm gonna chaotize here and I'm gonna chaotize there because there's something better than unconditional love, or insert blank, right? But the sacral is an easy and light quality. It's an easy and light quality. It's a quality of space, of patience, of frankly ease and simplicity. And when you, it's not even something you have to tap into. It's just something that's there when you stop insisting with chaos upon it. The meeting becomes very easy, right? There is no necessity to bureaucrat so much once you've known this. And the meeting is just faster, more efficient. There's a solution, there's a direction. And maybe there is no need for a meeting the next time, okay? Because meetings in themselves are, to a large degree, bogus. As Naval said, meetings are not needed. Meetings are sort of the mwahahaha of bureaucracy, if you will. You don't need them. If everybody took responsibility for their action from a quality of light and realized also where their ability and power has its border and where they cannot do anything else, they can't overextend, et voila. Okay, et voila. And so I hope this made a little bit more sense, right? That the sacral and the holy, it's not this, I am not worthy of thee, I have to go to church and look into a very tall cupola. It's not that. It's actually very accessible, very down to earth stuff. It's a down to earth quality, right? That's available to everybody. No priest needed, no Catholicity, no God needed, okay? Because most often, when you say God, well, what does it mean to you? Exactly what does the word God mean to you? Because even if you're an atheist, that will mean, oh, God doesn't exist. So there's a reaction of bullshit. It's worth to think about. Or not even think about, just to let go.